Of La Penta. This is WICR.
And we're back. Matt, so I mentioned somebody hit a home run yesterday. Can you guess who it was? I'll give you a hint. He hasn't played in a long time.
Hasn't played in a long time. Was he a Yankee?
Yes, he is. All right, come on. It's not that hard.
Is it the Aroyd?
Yeah, it is. Alex Rodriguez went yard yesterday, I believe for the first time since 2013, sometime in there. Matt, he hit a shot to left center field on a 3-1 pitch, albeit it wasn't off of a great pitcher. They were playing the Red Sox in spring training, obviously. I couldn't even tell you who the pitcher was. But, I guess...
Brandon Workman.
89-mile-per-hour
fastball.
God, I don't know I don't even know what to think anymore of this guy. As a fan, you want to say, okay, great, he hit a home run. But as an A-Rod hater, I'm just like, go away. So it's tough. But, good for him. If he's going to play like this and help the team, fine. I'll take it. But
you know what? Give him credit, though, because you look at his slash line so far in spring training, 455 batting average, 538 on base, 818 slugging. And that's obviously in 5 games, so it's a short sample size. But he's done very well. He's went 5 for 11. He's got a home run now. There's a couple RBIs. He swung the bat well at third base. In the time that he played limited, he looked a little rusty, obviously. And having not played in over 500 days will do that to you. So he's not going to be the third baseman. It's going to be Chase Headley because they did sign him for the 4-year deal. A-Rod's going to be relegated mostly to DH, and they even have him working out at first base a little bit, but. If the Yankees can get anything out of this guy, because listen, they still owe him $61 million. So, it's not, although the Yankees print money and, they could drop him if they wanted to, they would have already done that. So they obviously have intentions of playing him. And if they can get, if he can hit 15 home runs and drive in 70, 75, I think as a Yankee fan, you have to sign up for that, no?
You have to. Especially, with you have to, especially because he's missed. Like you said, they owe him all this money.
Right.
It would make no sense to cut him unless he really, really, really just couldn't produce and he had nothing left.
Right. And they would have cut him already. Why have the circus come to town?
Right.
If if they didn't want to, the Yankees could have been back in November saying, "All right, see ya. We don't want you anymore. Thanks for your services. Thanks for 2009. All the best." And they would have just cut him.
It's a step in the right direction that he's accepted the fact that he will not be starting or barely playing at third base. I guess, you said they're going to try him out at first.
He's going to be mostly DH. Let's face it. The guy's 39, going to be 40. His legs aren't going to be the same. He doesn't have the same lateral movement that he did as a younger man. So he's going to be a DH. However, that's going to clog up, the hole there for, days off for guys like Beltran, guys like McCann, guys like Teixeira that, have been a little injury prone lately and need that kind of half day off to just be the hitter. That'll mean that A-Rod's not going to be the lineup some days because obviously you're going to have to rotate these guys to keep them fresh. You want to have, Beltran obviously healthy for a whole season and McCann and guys like that. And, they're also going to play McCann a little bit at first base. But, for Alex Rodriguez, he's so far so good. He's been a good soldier. He hasn't complained, which definitely he doesn't have the right to. But he hasn't said anything in terms of, well, I should be the third baseman or there should be a competition. He realizes that he's lucky to even be back in baseball. He's lucky to even be back playing in spring training games. So he really, I think, is finally understanding his role and finally understanding his place on this team. And I think it's made him a little bit more humble, which is good. You want to see that out of him because in all the years in baseball, he's always kind of come up as, kind of snobbish or kind of, egotistical. But now I think he just is doing it for the love of the game. And, he is clean as far as we know. I'm sure they're testing him rapidly now. So let's see what he can do. It's kind of like with Ryan Braun last year where, last year was the first year where, he was coming back after being suspended and not being on steroids. And, he had a decent year. I wouldn't say it was a Ryan Braun year that he's had in the past when, he was MVP. But, we're going to see what he really is now because, let's face it, we don't know the kind of statistics Alex Rodriguez can truly put up as a clean player because we know he took it in Texas. We know he took it with the Yankees. Who's to say he didn't take steroids with Seattle Mariners? Who's to say he didn't take it in the minor leagues or as a high school player? So this will be a true testament to see really what Alex Rodriguez is made of, but it's kind of sad at the same time because it's, the twilight of his career. He's 39 years old, so obviously, players that are 39, 40 are going to deteriorate and not put up the same kind of numbers that they used to. So it's kind of sad. We're never going to gauge the real Alex Rodriguez and what kind of statistics he can put up.
It is sad. It almost seems like, he just wasted his career. If all these rumors are true that, he has been taking the supplements since he was in Seattle, even earlier than that, who knows. But yeah, it pretty much puts a giant asterisk on his career, even more so than Barry Bonds. At least Barry Bonds was like a very viable player when he was in Pittsburgh before he, went over to San Francisco and his head got big. But, seriously though, like, you don't know. We have no idea if Alex Rodriguez's career is real or not.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, there's a real taint factor with that, obviously, and there's real asterisks. Like you said, with Barry Bonds, with Pittsburgh, when we know he wasn't on steroids. I mean, the guy was an MVP, a multiple-time MVP.
Yeah, he was a great player before.
He would have been a Hall of Famer regardless, Same thing with Roger Clemens. Guys like this that really just, if they had stayed clean, if they had, kept out of all this mess, they would have been considered greatest of all times instead of being, kind of cast-outs now. Although, you know what? I mean, guys that have been admitted steroid users are back in the game, though. I mean, you look at guys like Mark McGwire, who's, the hitting coach for the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Bonds is now back in San Francisco. He's kind of been like a roaming instructor with the Giants. Clemens is a special assistant in Houston. So these guys are welcome back. The one guy that has been absent and gone, really, from all of Cubs lore is Sammy Sosa. And I actually read an article the other day, which is really interesting to read. I won't get too detailed into it, but Sosa really rubbed people the wrong way, especially the organization, the way he left the Cubs. And since then, he has not been invited back to any events. There's no,
Really?
retirement for his jersey. Yeah, and it's kind of sad because Sosa. I mean, I remember growing up, Sosa and McGwire at '98 and all those, that whole home run chase, and he really, helped bring baseball back after the whole strike. And, Sosa obviously was, a great player. He's a good defender. Obviously had a lot of power too. But, another guy that, got caught with steroids and, then played the I can't speak English card in Congress. And it's just the next day he could speak English all of a sudden. So, Sosa really, I think, should come back, apologize, do what he has to do to get back into the good graces of the Cubs. Because, the fan base, loves Sosa. He would run out. I always remember at the start of the game, he would sprint out to right field, and that's always I remember of him. And I remember, too, when he got his citizenship, he actually ran out in the field with a little United States American flag, which is really cool, And Sosa was one of my favorite players growing up. I remember going to batting practice early at Old Shea Stadium when the Cubs were in town, and watching him at batting practice was like just a show. I mean, that I would have paid admittance just to see him hit batting practice. He was hitting bombs after bomb after bomb. Same thing with McGwire. They would just put on shows, but it was interesting to read that about Sosa. So they're trying to see if they can get him back in, and but it just shows that if you're repentant, if you're sorry, and you get back into the good graces of these teams, they'll let you back in. Are they going to forget? No, of course not. We'll always remember the names McGwire and Bonds, and they're always going to be synonymous with steroids and PEDs. But there is a way for these guys to get back in.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. In the case of Alex Rodriguez, I don't know if he'll ever be back in the good graces of anyone. I mean, you see him getting these standing ovations now, but who knows? I think once he comes to Yankee Stadium, things might change a little bit.
Bronx is a little tougher.
Yeah.
Demographic than Tampa. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
He's down in spring training. The weather's nice. Everyone's happy to see him back on the field. When he comes back to Yankee Stadium, you bet your butt he's gonna get booed. I'm telling you right now, he's gonna get booed.
Oh, especially on the road too. I mean, remember 81 games he's gonna be on the road. So you better believe that, especially when he goes to territory places like Boston.
Yeah.
He's gonna get booed, and but he's used to it though. So it's not even before the steroids, he was used to getting booed because he was always kind of seen like as a villain. And always been vilified. So I don't think there's anything new, but let's see how thick his skin is now after all these details have come out about his steroid use and coming back from the longest suspension for steroids in Major League Baseball history.
Like you said, we just gotta wait and see. Going over to the Mets, Matt.
My Mets.
What happened yesterday with Matt Harvey? Let me in on a little something. Come on.
Well, Matt Harvey was not as sharp as his first game, okay, and I wasn't expecting him to. I honestly came in with the expectations that he was going to be a little flat, and which is understandable. He even came out after the game and said he felt a little fatigued. His arm felt fine though; he just felt a little tired. Obviously, he's coming back after Tommy John surgery. He's had 17 months off, which is usually about 4 months longer than most players have, which puts him kind of ahead of the game. Didn't have a terrible game. He went 2 2/3, 2 runs, 6 hits, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. 49 pitches. They were only going to let him go 50. 30 of them were strikes, so that's good. He topped at about 96, 97 on the gun, so he still had the velocity. He was very steady in the 93, 95 range yesterday, so that's good to see as well that his velocity is still there. I just wanted to see him, throw strikes, work on more of the curve, which he's demonstrated now, and it's looked really good so far. Keep up the velocity as well. In spring training, if you give up runs, it's not a big deal, because if you add up the 2 games he's pitched 4 2/3 combined, 2 runs, struck out 5, and walked 1. So that's not bad. I'll take that in his first 2 starts. But he looked good otherwise. I thought he did look a little tired going into the 3rd inning. You can see that he gave up the big hit to Giancarlo Stanton that almost went out. But I mean, Stanton is just a monster in himself. But Harvey looked like Harvey, and I think Harvey's going to get back on track and pitching every 5 days. It's going to be a little bit of a progress situation with him. But the number one thing is for him to stay healthy. That's all I want to see is him healthy. And obviously they're going to increase his pitch count every start. He went from about 25, 30 in his first to, they said, about 50 in the second, and he was just under that yesterday. So I liked what I saw. I did. And obviously I liked also what I saw from Noah Syndergaard yesterday, who bounced back. It was kind of a reversal. The first game, it was Harvey and Syndergaard, and Syndergaard blew up. He didn't have a good game. Yesterday, Syndergaard comes in, strikes out 5, had a big game. He was throwing hard. He was throwing in the upper 90s. He even topped at 99. So this is a kid that Mets fans like myself have been waiting for last couple years. Obviously, he had a little bit down year in AAA last year in Vegas, which is a very, very tough pitcher's park to pitch in. It's definitely more of a hitter's environment. But, it was a little bit of a role reversal yesterday, but I just want to see these pitchers stay healthy. They obviously have a plethora of pitchers on the staff.
It's definitely the strength of the team.
It is, and they need to use that to their advantage to go and, try to shop one of these guys, especially now with the news about Yu Darvish potentially being out for the rest of the year with, going to get a 3rd opinion now. But all indications show that he'll probably get Tommy John surgery. So, maybe you could package a John Neese or a Dylan G or Cologne to Texas. The Mets have these guys that they can use at their disposal. Because you think about it, besides the starting 5 plus G, you have down in the minor leagues in AAA, you have Rafael Montero, you have Steven Matz, and you have Noah Syndergaard. So you really have about 8-9 guys that could be in this starting 5 right now. So the Mets, I think, really need to be prudent and see who needs pitching. I think the Red Sox come to mind too. The Red Sox have a lot of good number 2, number 3 starters, but no clear-cut ace.
Please don't send anyone in the AL East, please.
No one to the AL East? No. I mean, how about like a G or a Neese, something like that? No?
I think the best thing for the Mets would be to wait, towards the All-Star break. Wait a little bit. Just let the season, play out a little bit. See how things go. And, teams start to get injuries happen. Teams start to get desperate, especially towards the All-Star break in July. And, I think you can make a move then. You definitely have the pieces, to bring in a hitter, to bring in a guy.
Without a doubt. And I think really honestly now what the Mets' biggest need is, I know we were talking about the hitting and shortstop and all that, and I'm kind of tired of that. Let's see what Flores can do. Let's see, even Matt Reynolds is opening up some eyes. He's actually hitting very well so far in spring training. But the Mets' biggest concern right now, I think, is the lefty reliever. Josh Edgin, who is pretty much their only lefty reliever on this team right now, let's face it, has undergone MRIs, so we're waiting to hear back. There should be a report today about his status, but he might, begin the season on the DL, and he was really their, everyday lefty going forward. What upsets me with the Mets organization is that they couldn't get any left-handed pitching to sign. I mean, even take a flyer on a guy like Yohan Santana and try to stick him in the pen, or Barry Zito and stick him in the pen. Phil Koch signed a minor league deal. I mean, come on, Phil Koch, who was a great Yankee lefty. He was with the Tigers the last couple of years. I mean, the Mets had options and opportunities to sign guys for not a lot of money. You bring in some competition, but they don't. They signed a Rule 5 draft pick who, if he doesn't make the major league roster, is going to be shipped back. His name is Sean Gilmartin. It's not a bad left. He's been around for a couple of years, but they have Scott Rice, who also got lit up yesterday. But there was no viable go-to option right now for this Mets team in terms of lefty reliever, and that's what scares me and kind of frustrates me as a Mets fan the most, is that there were options for Sandy Alderson to go out and get, and I think he just waited too long, and guys sign quick, and and they're not going to wait around.
Going over to the Yankees, Matt. Let's stick with the pitching. Tanaka's making his spring debut tonight.
Very interested to see that.
Me too. I'm interested, but I'm very hesitant. It's almost going to be hard to watch because he's had, similar injury to Matt Harvey and Yu Darvish, albeit not that serious. He only had the partially torn ACL. Yeah, not yet. Exactly. That's getting to my point. It's a ticking time bomb. You don't know when that thing's going to tear. It's probably inevitable. It would be an absolute miracle if Masahiro Tanaka's elbow stayed, healthy throughout not only this season but the future. He had the opportunity to, elect for surgery. He didn't. He went with the rehab. I believe he made a couple starts towards the end of last season.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a ticking time bomb. I just think, he should have went the safe way, got the surgery, and he could have came back, I guess, at the end of this season. But he's making his debut tonight. What do you expect to see?
Well, if I'm a Yankee fan, I'm watching it with one eye open because I'm just as fearful as you. Listen, I want to see Tanaka pitch. Not being a Yankee fan, but I like he's a good story. He's obviously broke into the league and was fantastic last year for the Yankees. Really became their de facto ace after Sabathia really has been regressing the last 2 or 3 seasons. So for the Yankees, you're holding your breath. They didn't really make any obviously big moves in the rotation. Obviously, they did trade for Nathan Eovaldi, which they gave up Martin Prado for to the Marlins. But he, again, is just a hard-throwing young kid that really needs to get a couple secondary pitches. There was news also that Chris Capuano is going to be hurt and is going to be out, I think, for the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So, right now you have Pineda, you have Sabathia, you have Eovaldi, you have Tanaka, which is a big question mark, and then you have Nova coming back from Tommy John probably sometime by the All-Star break. You have Adam Warren. You have a couple other guys that might be potential number 5 guys, but I think the Yankees are going to be one of those teams too by the end of spring training, looking around and seeing who's available to maybe pick up, on the cheap, or maybe pick up, as an extra piece. And the Mets, while the Mets and Yankees don't really do many trades, I think the last trade they did was back in like
David
2001.
Right?
Yeah, I think that was the last trade they did.
Yeah. That would work out. Hey, I'll
don't
send him to Boston, send him to us to get. I'll take one of the young guys. I mean, the Yankees have to give up. They don't have many assets. All the guys they have are on huge contracts, which the Mets obviously stay away from.
Well, we're not giving you up. We're not giving you Wheeler. We're not giving you DeGrom. We're not giving you Harvey. You can have your pick of either Cologne, Nice, or G. You take one of those guys.
What about Syndergaard?
I'm not. No way. What are you giving me for Syndergaard? It's better be a fair trade. You want to give me Aaron Judge?
I'll give you Alex Rodriguez.
You're crazy.
No. But, seriously, no. The Yankees and Mets will not be making any trades with each other. The Yankees do need a pitcher, though. The Mets have pitchers. It would be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. The Yankees don't have many assets. All their guys are on huge contracts. Who's in our farm system? No one, right?
Pitching-wise, I mean, you have this young kid, Luis Servino, who is a very talented pitcher, hard-throwing young kid. I think he's a righty, if I'm not mistaken.
I just mean in terms of assets. Do the Yankees have anything? Like Brian Cashman always, talks about the farm system, building up the farm system. I'm not sure exactly I haven't seen anybody really come up since Brett Gardner.
Brett Gardner was the last one, but one guy I keep an eye on, Antonio, who's also opened up a lot of eyes in the Yankee brass, is Aaron Judge. 6'7" outfielder, big kid. I mean, a lot of people remind him of like Harmon Killebrew, Dave Kingman type of build. Huge, a lot of power. Has impressed the Yankee brass so far in limited spring training games. He's probably going to be in Double-A Trenton this year, but he's on the fast track to being a real big option for them in terms of offensive talent going forward. Has a little bit of like a Giancarlo Stanton kind of build, but even bigger because he's 6'7". He's huge. So watch out for him. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's not a lot that the Yankees have.
Yeah.
A lot of their big players in terms of minor leagues are down lower in the lower levels. Nothing that's really kind of knocking on the door, except for the second base prospects, Jose Perella and Rob Refsnyder, both who a lot of Yankee fans were hoping that they would get the chance to, try out for the second base job before Stephen Drew signed. But we'll see also because listen, Didi Gregorius, who we haven't really talked about yet either, hasn't hit very well at all for the Yankees. I think he's 1 for 12.
Jeez.
Looking terrible against lefties, too. So there's a chance that you might slide Stephen Drew back to shortstop, which is his original position. And then maybe you give the job to a Perella or a Refsnyder and go with a young kid. I think, the Yankees need to start using some of these young kids. And in the past, they would trade these players away and trade their assets away and just, sign all the big free agents they possibly can. And that's not the day and age we live in anymore. Mm-hmm. You're signing guys, teams are signing guys to long contracts while they still have them under control, even sometimes before they hit arbitration. I mean, you look at Evan Longoria's contract and Giancarlo Stanton's contract and Ryan Braun and Troy Tulowitzki and guys like that have signed way before their arbitration or way before their free agency years. And Mike Trout just recently. So the Yankees aren't going to get these guys unless they're going to build internationally and through the draft. And they do have some good players. I'm not saying they don't. You know, they're not at the very, very bottom of the minor league rankings in terms of position players and prospects, but they need to see what some of these guys can develop into.
Oh, Matt, this show goes by too quickly. We only got like a minute left. I wanted to ask you a quick question because you mentioned Stanton earlier. I haven't been watching much spring ball. You know, I've been following the Yankees. How does he look since getting hit? He
looked pretty good yesterday. I mean, he had that big hit against Harvey yesterday that almost went out. He looks good. I know he's been experimenting with the face mask batting helmet, which covers his face. Which obviously, you know, if people don't know, he got hit by a 90-mile-per-hour fastball by Tom Friars of the Milwaukee Brewers at the end of last season. And I really think that if he had stayed healthy, I think he was going to be a clear-cut MVP. Well, not a clear cut because obviously Kershaw had a huge year.
He was having a monster year.
But he was having a monster year. He finished with 37 home runs and over 100 RBIs. But it was sad to see him go down like that. And obviously his family was in attendance and it was scary. But getting back to how he's doing so far, he looks good. You know, he looks good. And obviously the Marlins are totally revamped their team too. And they're going to be a contender, I really think, as well. I think they really have a shot at a playoff position. So Stanton obviously signed that huge deal, and he's got the largest contract in professional sports. It was a $300+ million deal over 10 years. So
he out
25 years old.
He outdid Cano on that one.
Yeah, and it's scary to think that he's only 25 years old, but he's been in the league already about 4 or 5 seasons. So
it's scary to think that the Mets could have offered him a lot of money and brought him into Flushing.
Oh man, if Giancarlo Stanton could have come to Flushing, I would have personally picked him up at the airport and driven him here and bought him a dinner. Any kind of dinner he wanted.
I forgot to mention this earlier. We literally have 30 seconds. I forgot to mention this earlier. I was listening to our guy, Mike Francesa, number one.
He's doing 25 years. 25 years.
I was listening to Francesa, and a caller actually brought up a great point.
And he didn't hang up on them?
Right.
Wow.
The Mets, you know, they got this void at shortstop. They got a couple guys that are going to battle it out, I guess. What would you think? I need a quick answer on this. What would you think about possibly making a deal, sending Syndergaard back to Toronto to bring back Jose Reyes?
Done.
You do it?
Yes.
I think Reyes would be a great fit because not only do the Mets need a shortstop, they need a leadoff hitter. I don't think Granderson's going to be a leadoff hitter.
Nor do I think Lagares is going to be a leadoff hitter either. Doesn't get on base enough.
Things would definitely come full circle. For those that don't know, the Mets got Syndergaard, who's a great minor league prospect, in the R.A. Dickey trade when the Mets sent Dickey up. Right? Was it the Dickey trade?
Yep, it was Dickey and Tolley.
Yeah.
To the Blue Jays for Syndergaard, d'Arnaud, and one other player. But everyone thought, I mean, the d'Arnaud part was the biggest part of that deal.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully, and that's another discussion hopefully for next time we talk about.
Yeah, we're not here next week. Obviously, we have spring break, so it's going to be another 2-week hiatus for Antonio and Matt. But Matt, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Everyone enjoy your spring break. Stay safe.
I'm sure a lot will happen in the sports world, and we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about it. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.